This is Noel Tate, one half of the Velvet Drapes from Trapped in a World, the Howard the Duck podcast, and you're listening to Capes and Lunatics.
Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend D.G. Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Recording has started. Do you hear the drums of war? Do you hear the threats that no one hero can face alone? In such times, a team will rise. They are the Avengers! And this is Avengers Declassified. Hello, my Capes and Lunatics. I am Charlie, the Professor Essa. And with me, as always, is the blue-eyed bomber of the Burger Pits,
Phil Podcast Perich.
Philip. Always glad to have you in my association.
Thank you, Charles.
You are the founder of the feast. Hey, kids. This is the summer of 69, if you were not aware.
Ooh, that's sweet.
And tonight we are finishing the works of the Mighty Thor of the summer of 69. If you lived through the summer of 69, you may be Mighty Thor yourself today. Oh, alrighty then. Philip, what is our first issue tonight?
The Mighty Thor number 168.
And the title, please?
Sorry.
I assumed you had it open.
I was bringing it up. I was bringing the actual issue up on Marvel Unlimited, who should sponsor us.
Yes. They should, because I read them all the time, but I pay the money to read, and yet here I am. Yes, my problem is I read it on the phone and I can never see it. And Marvel, you need to have a thing that says, hey, what were you just reading? Yeah, here it is. Instead of making me search for I have to re-find it, add it back to my library, add the thing to my Marvel, come on.
Send them that in an email. I'm sure they would appreciate that. Be like, here's how you can improve here's how you can improve your app, you know.
Well, honestly, they need a little help. I mean, it's a good app for reading, even on your cell phone, but quite frankly, it's missing clear customer service items. I should ask Tom Brevoort.
Oh, he'll give you the 50 questions, yeah.
I want the 50 questions.
Nice.
Anyway,
all right, so
what was the title of this issue, Philip?
All right, the Mighty Thor number 168 from September 1969, Galactus Found.
Galactus Found. You know, here's the thing I'm going to say. Because there's all this discussion about Jack versus Stan and the writing of these things. And there are times where I feel like, you know what, I think Jack wrote a lot of this, but I think Stan kind of had to make it make sense.
Yeah, it's a collab, because I've read Jack Kirby's Eternals. You could see a little of it in here, but it's there are Stan touches in here.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of the next issue. Okay. So this is, and it's the parallel storytelling. And here's one thing I want to say. I can see that basically Stan is pitching a story, and Jack is like, yeah, but I want to write this other story. So it's like Stan is saying, we need to talk about Thor on Earth and fighting and, assassinations and things that are actually kind of mattering to human society.
Yeah.
And Jack Kirby's like, yeah, but what about space gods? Do we talk enough about space gods? Because, as you will remember, at the end of this last episode, and man, you see, this is one thing I want to say. The MCU missed a delightful thing with Don Blake. And honestly, the Marvel Comics are missing a delightful thing with that. Honestly, the Marvel Comics treatment of Don Blake is awful. Just absolutely awful. And if you want to understand why Marvel is bad? Why the MCU... Look, hey, are you a hater of the MCU? Do you want to know why the MCU is bad? You need look no further than how Don Blake was handled in the early 60s comics as an integrated aspect of Thor, as a person who had powers that Thor did not. And you will understand it, because really this story, as we know, Thor had to fix Baldar's brain, last issue, because only Don Blake had the skills. He had those mad skills, man. Had the mad skills to fix Baldar's brain. Now Thor is back off on his trip to the cosmos to find Galactus. And Baldar, with the bandage on his head, comes out. He's going to AMA right now. But they say, here's a note from Don Blake. It's gibberish, because it's obviously written in Viking runes or some such. Yeah, it's written in Asgardian. That's why you can't understand it. Which, again, shows that Thor and Don Blake share knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was like... Honestly, there is so much in the Thor Don Blake story that almost makes you feel that a good writer could tell a really good tale of reintegrating the two, like a Hulk Banner story. Much like the 1980s The Incredible Hulk Returns when he fights Thor. And the idea that, look, I'm good with my mind, you're good with you're a Buick on stilts. How do these factors relate? What do I bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? And maybe the whole problem with Thor is that he keeps on rejecting Don Blake as something, as an appendage.
He's a tool. He's a tool. Oh, someone's hurt. Okay, I'm going to be Blake. Boom. Okay.
Well, no,
surgery's done. That's what it seems like in these issues. That's what it seems like.
I know, but at the same time, it's also a tool that Thor lacks.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe it is this thing that maybe what Thor needs to do is say, you know what? No, I am Don Blake. The whole thing about me gaining this humility, it worked, but it worked because I was Don Blake.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was this person whose primary motivation was healing. That's what made me not the jerk Thor, but the good Thor. And dealing with that Don Blake story is the story that I think, it gets pushed aside because because everyone wants to write, what about the space gods? When, Stan Lee is saying, no, what about the good man who got shot? Which is another issue, but we'll get to it in a minute. Anyway, Volstagg wants a newspaper.
Yes, the Warriors 3 on Earth. Watch Earth in Thor's absence because we have no Avengers or any other superheroes.
Yes, and meanwhile, Thor is lounging in his sofa, eating grapes, bemoaning his situation. And it's like, again, Kirby, dude, read the room. Really, read the room. Is this the most horrid thing to before the God of Thunder?
Or was Jack being ironic, where it's just like, this god's getting told to do something. He's like, I don't want to do this, even though he's in the lap of luxury on this spaceship. But it's like, I don't want to do this.
Well, and again, this is like, so in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they had an Asgardian who'd been masquerading as a human for like 1,000 years. And he was played by the shorter lead attorney from Ally McBeal. Wonderful actor, I forget his name.
Is it Peter McNichol or something?
Yes, that does sound correctly. And he was like, and someone was like, wow, you're an Asgardian, do you know Thor? He's like, yes, because the Prince Regent of Asgard always hung out with stonecutters. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? Most people in Asgard are just dudes in Asgard. And yes, we're gods, but we have jobs and we do things. And no, most of us are not freaking Thor and Loki and the gods of thunder and whatnot. Most of us aren't even gods of anything. We're just, entities in this place who are doing a thing. And then one day we all got to go to Earth and fight frost giants. And some of us said, what if I just stuck around and lived on Earth and, was nice to people and learned things and talked to people and told them stories and got to be a college professor, which would be awesome. But that's not the story today. The story today is Thor bemoaning how long must I lounge in this chair until we find Galactus? Like, what? I have been caught by something. Meanwhile, in some place we will not discuss because it's a little bit racist.
A little
bit. We don't know what part of the world it is, but they're definitely mad at the West. Which, when you think about it, is a ridiculous concept on a circular planet. Because everything is west of something.
Yes.
In fact,
not Australia.
No, it's west of. Australia is west of California.
It's south. It's all south.
It's southwest. Is the point, Philip? I mean, yes, you are technically right. It is also south, but it is also west. We don't have a north-south divide as much as we have an east-west divide. Only like individual countries. So like individual countries wind up being north-south, and then countries themselves become east-west. It's weird. I don't know why that is, because it doesn't necessarily make sense. But it is the sense that we have. But yeah, so we would like to destroy the West. What if we created a gigantic radioactive golem with a nuclear pile as its heart? That sounds fine. What if it destroys us? That's fine. We have a rocket. We can put it on to shoot it to the West. And then it's the West's problem.
No.
Which, to be fair, sounds like how most countries deal with toxic waste. So, if it's someone else's problem, it's not ours. They launch it. It goes to the West. Meanwhile, while that's all happening, Thor meets what has captured him. And it is none other than Galactus, who, honestly, is tired, man.
I'm sick of this, bro.
I'm sick of this. It's like, Yeah, no, I wanted you to find me, Thor, because I'm kind of tired of this whole game. It's kind of sucky, but let me tell you my origin story. And it's interesting, because this is not the currently accepted origin story. This is a much simpler, it's a much pared down story. We even have, what I find kind of interesting in this, is this idea of a singular watcher, rather than a race of watchers.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this goes into, I get again, it's this idea that where I think like Kirby has this idea of this small universe, and, but once you start writing it, other people have bigger ideas.
Do you think it was Kirby's or was it Stan's? Because, arguably Stan's doing the writing, you are right. I was going to say, did Stan create Galactus? But they both created Galactus in Fantastic Four, right?
This is the whole thing, is I think they actually collaborate a lot more than people say.
Yeah.
So maybe it is Stan saying, let's do this, but let's also do this. And maybe Jack's like, I guess I could write a story where we're fighting space gods and dealing with social issues at the same time. Jack
wants to do Space God, so he's like, Stan's like, all right, let's do the Galactus origin.
Yeah, we get the Galactus origin. What I find interesting about it is that Galactus' world in this story, we don't get that far in this.
It's the next issue, 169.
Yeah, we get Space Plague is next week. But right now, Galactus says, I will tell you my origin. Because why not? It sounds fun. Meanwhile, the Warriors 3 and Baldar are on Earth, and, I don't know, man. Like, I think Volstagg, they play him for laughs, but he doesn't seem like a coward or in any way problematic.
Mm-mm.
Yes, he's not attacking when everyone else is, but like he says, he's waiting for his opportunity, Phil. You don't want to just lunge in and be deflected. You got to know when it's the time to strike.
Oh, yeah.
That's what most of these young Warriors 3 today don't know. You don't just go around waving your sword like some kind of crazy person. You sit and you wait, and when the time to strike is right, you strike with the speed of a vapor, and then you've won the battle. But you don't want to win the battle too bad, because then, all your friends think you're hogging all the glory, and that's You never want to do that because they're your friends. You want to be nice.
This what is it? Thermal Man?
Thermal Man. Thermal Man has such a story here. I feel bad for Thermal Man because he gets like no character. I really want to know if Thermal Man shows up later because I mean, like, spoilers. They send him to the Arctic where he will be frozen forever.
Yeah, Steve Rogers, how that works.
Yeah, not for nothing, yeah. And secondly, it's like even in the 1950s, at the end of the Blob, they put the question mark there because you're like, you know what? That probably isn't a long-term solution.
Do you think
we'll get back to...
Do you think that's always Stan saying, "Oh, hey, let me put this aside so I can always pull it back out whenever if I want to in a year or two or whatever"?
I mean, well, you can't. Here's the thing: you can't have the hero because that's the thing in this story, and it's honestly, it's like when you go through all 4 issues of this, or 3 issues because the 4th issue is the Wrecker, and we'll get to the Wrecker in a minute. But, it's like, what are you going to do with this weapon? Because you have to have a weapon that's a real threat. You also have to have the hero defeat it. But at the same time, it can't be too easy. And that is what they sort of build out with the Thermal Man. But in this moment, what we see is that... next issue is the Y of Galactus. So let's just hop ahead to the Y of Galactus, shall we, Phil?
Yes. But no, I was looking up the Thermal Man. It looks like he does show up in Thor again, but I can't believe I forgot this. He shows up in Thunderstrike 15. Because eventually he makes he gets tossed into a, did it say a New Jersey landfill? And gets rebuilt. I believe it said a New Jersey landfill.
I mean, for a radioactive golem, that's pretty good. I mean, here's my thing with golems. I eventually want them to sort of just say, like, why am I angry all the time?
I forget what else I was talking about before, but it's like, this always comes up in fiction. When you're building like an artificial being like this, never make the first prototype indestructible. Why?
Because, I mean, the argument is...
If it goes awry, it's like, how do we stop it?
Well, that's the problem. Because, I mean, here's the thing. No one makes an evil monster with the intention to use it for good. So it's like, we're gonna make a giant radioactive monster. Because we want it to wreak havoc on the West.
Well, yeah, but what if it turns on you? What if it turns on you?
Well, I mean, this is not for nothing. This is that whole the planet is round thing that I mentioned earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yes, we can let it run havoc on the West. Eventually, it might want to run havoc on the East. And then what do we do?
Might run havoc on everything, yeah.
Well, that's the problem, Phil. I guess they're hoping, like, it's like the Hulk, and it'll eventually just, settle down in the ruins of Manhattan, which is fine, but then wouldn't everyone in Brooklyn just like, okay, well, let's just let him have Manhattan. That's fine. We only paid a few beads. We only paid like $50 for it. So you know what? You can have Manhattan. It's fine. Yes, I know we liked the tall buildings. We can build buildings in Brooklyn. It's not a problem. We can build buildings in Jersey, though no one will want to be in them.
Again, they're just trying to create a threat for God, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's a fair enough threat. And again, it's, we get our story with Galactus. Back to the first issue. So we get the Galactic Plague in the second issue. What's the second issue, Phil?
Oh, the second one, yeah, it's The Awesome Answer.
The Awesome Answer. Yes. So the Awesome Answer is that apparently, and I do think it actually takes 3 issues to get here, but effectively, so in the modern comic book universe, Galactus occupied the last universe to die of heat death.
Yes.
And I get the feeling like there is these writers who said, well, no, what the plague they're describing is how Thor interpreted what the heat death of the universe was. And Ta is the last planet, because it was the one planet so technologically advanced, it could forestall heat death until it could not. And that's the idea, is that heat death was coming. But Ta, in the way that planets today deal with global warming, one planet today deals with global warming that we know of, by ignoring it until it's too late, Ta dealt with the heat death of its universe until it was too late. Though they may have actually made efforts to be less entropic in their final years. It's always possible.
Oh, I just looked up the Wikipedia. Okay. Yeah, the initial origin. The initial origin was Galactus was a space explorer named Galen who gained cosmic abilities by passing near a star. But writer Mark Grunwald, the great Mark Grunwald, God rest his soul, further developed the origin of the character, presenting Galen as alive during the previous universe that existed prior to the Big Bang.
There you go. Because all of modern comics owes an incalculable debt to Mark Grunwald. I mean, that's the thing about comics, at least, at one point in history. And I think at all points in history. And you get to this day now with very many great comics writers, whether it's Brubaker or Hickman or those guys we just talked to, Colin and
Jackson.
The other guy.
Yeah.
Jackson, yeah. Colin and Jackson. These people are creating new universes that are going to influence everything else. And the one thing about comics is we like the new guys, not the old guys so much. Because the new guys got to read what the old guys said, and they said, but here's what we're going to say it is now.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes Galactus more mysterious and powerful, because it's like, instead of just coming from a really old planet, no, he came from the previous universe.
Sure, why not? Why not?
He survived the Big Bang, yeah.
Given that these are made-up stories, it all works. Because you know what? It's like if you're going to sit there and argue about the canonical significant, not for nothing, got into a fight with a guy online about what I know. Such a Potter buff. But this person, he had his views on the Jedi and what the Jedi were, and I was like, dude, that's not in the canon. I mean, nothing we see about the Jedi says they're nice people.
I do like your theory. It's like, this is Thor's interpretation of what Galactus is telling him, because Thor's not always the brightest.
Well, I mean, that's more of a modern interpretation of.
Well, yeah.
Party Thor is literally just Taika Waititi. We didn't even have a Party Thor. I mean, Party Thor was Hercules prior to Taika Waititi.
Well, I mean, in this story, you could say, you don't have to say Thor is not that bright. All you can say is just like, Thor is just like in a hurry. It's like, come on, I want to get back to Asgard. I want to get back to Earth. Come on already. Hurry the story up.
Still, it is what it is.
He's coming off the Warrior Madness, Charlie.
The Warrior Madness. Nowadays we say, what? Maybe the Warrior Madness, it makes a point. I was just watching the Orville.
Yes.
And our favorite Mocklin got a bit of the Warrior Madness in there.
Well, you go after your kid, somebody's kid. Yeah, you better expect it.
For reals, you're not going to want to stand down to that point. And you know what? And to be fair, the person he was mad at has made a career of torturing children. That's the thing. I get that you're a torturer, but at a certain point in your life, you gotta say, you know what? There's some jobs I don't want to take.
I think he's saying that now.
Well, to be fair, like the guy in Clerks said, you know what? When you're a contractor, you have to decide what jobs you're going to take. And sometimes you can take a job for a guy is connected to the mob. You can take the job and you can do the job and get paid, but every so often a guy's going to come and shoot up that person that you're doing the roof work for, and you might get caught in the crossfire. So you know what? Every contractor makes his choice every day. And this guy made the choice that, you know what, I'm going to be the guy who tortures children. And that's a bad choice to make, especially if their dad shows up.
Oh, yeah.
And freaking puts the thing on your one good eye at 11. So, you know.
Space taser, yes.
Space taser at 11, which causes neurological damage, I guess he said. I don't know. But more to the point, as my child pointed out, you know, now he doesn't have either eye. He said, well, you know, technically this is the future. They probably can make artificial eyes. And he said, but he didn't fix the other eye. It's like, yeah, you know, that's weird. Like, they can do plastic surgery in this universe, too. It's not like he couldn't have had another eye. He made the aesthetic choice to have one eye melted and not have some cybernetic implant to let him see out of the other eye. Mochlins, what are you going to do? That's the Orville kids. We might talk about it later, but good show you should be watching. Anyway, so next episode, Philip, what happens? We are back at Earth because obviously the plague has been dealt with.
Yes,
by everyone dying, which is what you do with a plague.
So how did you feel?
It's a plague.
Yeah, how did you feel about like the Galactus wrap up, where it's like, you know, once Thor hears Galactus' story, Odin's like, okay, that's enough, that's all I need. It's like, what, really?
I mean, again, it is indicative of this run of Thor.
Yeah.
Like I said, I kind of feel like for all the stuff people say about, like, this seems like to be the one that Stan and Jack are like completely at odds with. Yeah. And it's like, I don't even know who is the person saying, okay, now he's got it. You know, and like, I get the idea that Odin wants knowledge. Odin, that is literally Odin's thing. Gave up an eye to have all the knowledge, and now there's knowledge he doesn't have. He needs to get it. What's a Galactus? I need to know. For no particular reason that makes sense to anyone, but he's going to say it, you know. Likewise, and he just sends his son, yeah, you know, I was going to send you on this anyway.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you had the Warrior Madness so I could actually make it a punishment. But quite frankly, yeah, regardless, I was going to say, only you, Thor, may go and find Galactus. I guess he knows, and I guess it's enough for Odin. And, you know, who knows? Maybe Odin can actually see what Thor saw. I could see because I'm Odin. I'm just that cool. And because me and Galactus, we on the same level. I could say, oh, you're like that first universe, heat death stuff. I get it.
I just wondered, did Odin try to say, hey, Galactus, who are you?
Well, what I love... It's funny to me because it's the why of Galactus, and all I can think of is why is Gamora. You know, where is Gamora? I'll do you one better. Who is Gamora? So I will do you one better. Why is Gamora? But why is Galactus, Phil?
It seemed like Galactus wanted to lay out his origin, so couldn't Odin have just been like, oh, hey, where do thee come from?
You know, I guess what it is that maybe it's that, like, look, man, I'm a Sky Father, you're a Galactus. We got to follow protocols, okay? Let me send my idiot son talk to you. You talk to my idiot son. He's gonna want to punch you. Don't worry about that. It's like, you know, he's like throwing paper at you, and you'll be like, okay. All right, little Thor, it's okay. Let me tell you my origin. I'm kind of sick of this whole chase, too. And then he tells him the story, and Thor's like, oh, my goodness, what an amazing story. But meanwhile, old Daddy Odin, he's sitting back going, oh, okay, yeah. Pre-Big Bang, heat death, yeah, the plague. I get it, the plague. I see what you... I get your metaphor, Galactus. It's good. Okay. I saw what I needed. Kid, get out of there. Go back. Let's go fight a nuclear golem back on Earth. That seems your speed right now, kid. Go join that fat guy and his two friends, and you go fight that golem guy.
Get back.
That's how he does.
Get back to Earth, Thor. Volstagg has broken all of Don Blake's furniture.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Don Blake needs better furniture.
He's probably never home.
And to be fair, it's like, why does Don Blake even have a bed? Like, have we ever seen Don Blake sleep? It's an odd question, but it's like, you know what? Does Don Blake sleep? Or does he become Thor? Is it like Rick Jones and Captain Marvel when Thor is out? Is Don Blake oh god, finally a nap? It's like the guy keeps on waking me up to like heal soldiers for some reason. It's like, dude, the guy just needed CPR. Don't you know freaking CPR? Don't you know how to do basic first aid, Thor?
Oh my god, yeah.
Come on, man.
Okay, Thor 170, yes. Thor finds a U.S. soldier in the ruins, and brings out Don Blake. Don Blake carries the guy to the hospital. I'm like, isn't he have a limp? That's why he's using this cane. I'm like, how is he carrying this adult male soldier?
To be fair, I think Don Blake's faking a lot.
Well, no, because I think like later stories they'd even say it's like Don Blake was kind of his own separate entity, but then eventually as it got longer and longer into the story, Thor kind of assumed the Blake's identity. Blake kind of got bigger and bulkier, and I think towards the end, I don't think he even really needed the cane, but hey, that's the hammer.
I don't know.
So I think I don't think it's Blake fake. I think it's Thor fake.
I remember Thor after Don Blake was out of the picture.
Yeah.
Doing like surgery on people because I remember because I used to be a surgeon.
Yeah.
I remember when he was a freaking I remember when Thor was a freaking paramedic for a while.
Oh yeah.
So he had his little medical bag that he kept his hammer in, and no one else could lift. So that's why I got it. It's a very heavy bag. I remember these things. You think I don't remember? Remember, Marvel, we've been reading for years. We remember it all. Some people use their powers for good, like Jackson and Colin,
I know, man. Reading every Captain America.
Use my powers only for evil.
Oh, my.
Okay, moving right along. So they fight the nuclear power pile guy. And then, for some reason, Cornilla just brings... And it's weird because there's the whole fight, and then Cornella's like, no, Baldar, my love, bring him back. But then she brings back all the Warriors 3 with Baldar, but leaves Thor. And then Thor has to fight the thing alone. But he, of course, due to his amazing superpowers, he naturally escaped unharmed.
Well, yeah, it makes a typhoon, and like we said, the thermal man floats up north.
Because that's where you go when you want to be frozen in the ice forever, and this will never come back. Because it's the ice, and he's frozen now, so shut up. It's done. We did it. It's done. We're good. Anyway, meanwhile, I think the Wrecker breaks out of prison.
Well, in the last issue in 171.
In the last issue, So the Wrecker's here? Well, actually, let me just jump back, because honestly, there were some lines in this that are really good, because it is just this idea that, Carnilla and Loki are actually bound by evil. Because, like, Loki said, you brought our enemies here? Well, I can't be friends with you no more. It's like, that's fine, Loki, but we're bound together by evil. So we'll be friends again someday. Which is also weird, because, like, aren't you, like, all into Baldar for some reason? It's like, I don't know, man. The relationships between all these gods, as it turns out, for me as immortal, it's a little weird.
Evil people need love, too.
Yeah,
they want love, but...
As you do. Anyway, moving right along.
Oh my god, the Wrecker's jailbreak is the funniest because they have them in some room with like a big steel door, and like there's no vault or anything yet because they're just or the raft because like they're just like, oh yeah, the army's looking for like a deserted island just to drop them on or something.
It's honestly, I get the feeling there was a lot of improvisation in the early days, which when you think about it makes a lot of sense. So it was like, So there's a lot of people with the power to like blow things up with their minds. We have no prisons built that can deal with this.
I'm just surprised that they're just like, oh yeah, Reed Richards whipped something up.
Well, but to be fair, like Reed Richards builds a thing to hold the Hulk, and it like holds the Hulk for like an issue. That's the thing. It's like, well, we put the greatest mind in the world on it to find a way to deal with this one super powered guy. And it worked for like, a week or so.
Well, he gets madder.
It's, and to be fair, most of what Reed Richards did was like, big concrete blocks. And to be fair, the problem with that is that it's concrete, which means it is made up of an amalgam of smaller pieces that can be broken. So, I mean, you can put like Boulder in a concrete tomb. He'll get out of there in like 5,000 years. But he'll get out of there because he's Boulder and he'll live forever. And he just has to keep on doing this on the area, just rubbing his hand like this, wax on, wax off, until after 5,000 years he has worn his way through. And now he's out. It's not a perfect system. It's good enough for a guy like Boulder, but for the Hulk, it doesn't really work. So you need like a solid steel cage to put him in. But even if you read the Maestro this week, that does not always work.
No.
But let's finish up this. So What else happens with the Wrecker?
Well, he breaks out.
He breaks out.
Gets his crowbar.
Which is, a good crowbar. And it's all magic and stuff. And he like gets the Thor in a bear hug and yada yada yada. I mean, it's a good fighty episode, but it's kind of a fighty episode.
Yeah, it's basically like, hey, I gotta cause a commotion so Thor, so I can find Thor.
Yeah, and there's no real lore. And honestly, there's a part of me that's like, why do people, like, when the supervillain shows up and says, I'm taking over, like, why do people even react to that? It's like, okay, dude, so I'll send you my W-2? I don't know. What does that mean, you're taking over?
Well, I mean, the Wrecker's doing property damage, because even Don Blake's doing surgery. They're like, wait, what's that, an earthquake?
Yeah. And again, this is where we get into that differentiation between, I'm assuming what Stan wants to write.
Oh, yeah.
And what Kirby wants to draw. And it's also kind of interesting just that they make the guy that gets shot a Latino. Don't want to read too much into that, but it's like, oh, wow. Interesting you didn't make it a black civil rights leader. But we're not going to touch on that right now. We're just going to say, it was a Latino civil rights leader. And,
maybe Stan didn't want to go there because, in Marvel at this time, they weren't doing the Mafia. They were doing the Magia.
People get very upset about very silly things. And, that's why we invented mutants, according to Stan. Or not just because he was lazy, didn't want to think of new origins. Oh, hey, he said it, not me. Stan Lee is the first to say, I'm a lazy writer, and if I can figure out a way to avoid an origin story, I will. Excelsior!
X.
Anyway, so, So in this situation,
well,
they fight and they fight and they fight.
They get down to the subway tunnel, and Thor throws him on the third rail, and he's like, this ain't gonna do nothing to me, and Thor's like, oh, let me bring on some lightning, too.
Well, and to be fair, I guess that works, although one could ask, should you have just hit him with lightning from the start? It's like, no, I need lightning plus...
And the third rail, yes.
And the third rail. It's that extra oomph from the New York City subway grid. That's some powerful electricity there. And we'll add in some lightning, and everyone's happy. But that's that. Speaking of things, let's see here, Philip. You want to talk about unbelievably overpowered characters?
Sure.
Let's talk about Avengers, because this is Avengers Declassified. Let's talk about Avengers 58. This is just a weird thing I'm seeing, between the Soldier Supreme last issue
Mm-hmm.
and the Ghostwalker this issue, you kind of feel like it's an army of Supermen.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's like, oh, here are all of the best people to ever hold on to the icons. And here they are now standing before us. And that's the idea that, oh, yeah, in other universes, there are many heroes. But in specific universes, there is one ultimate hero who is the Ghostwalker, who can just cut through demons like they were made of paper mache, or the Soldier Supreme, who is not only a physical match for most people, but is also a magical match for everything that any threat that Mephisto could throw at you.
Yeah, it seems like Jason Aaron likes to do either like combo characters or like, oh hey, here's like a samurai Ghost Rider, and it's just like.
Well, but again, I don't think it's just that it's a samurai Ghost Rider. Just in the same way, I don't think that the Soldier Supreme is meant to be a combo character. I think he's meant to be the best possible version of a Captain America. In the way that this is meant to be the best possible version of a Ghost Rider. And the idea that if you could make this League of Omni-Avengers, that is the thing that will destroy this Council of Mephistos, if you will. Because really, these Mephistos seem pretty weak. Although we do get in this, again, what is the seed planted, which is whether or not Jane is like way too into Mjolnir. Even though she has it's funny because it's like a complete reversal of what we see in Love and Thunder. We're like, Jane has a perfectly omnipotent weapon. Why she's so hot for Mjolnir, we don't know, Phil. Especially now that it's got Odin in it.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that would be like, I don't need an Odin. Thank you. Nobody needs Odin. Let's see here. Before we get into too much, you want to talk Maestro?
Sure.
Maestro this week, we have...
The wrap-up, yeah.
Yeah, everybody fights, everybody wins. This is what happened to Dr. Doom. This is why all these other people weren't there. I don't know why Jim Hammond has Wi-Fi. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't make any sense at all. Jim Hammond isn't a robot. He is an artificial human being. There is a difference. Horton cells mimic human cells, not robotic circuitry.
I mean, it's a lazy explanation, but do you think maybe Doom was trying to come up for years a way to control Hammond?
I'm sure we can work that out. I love Well, that's the thing. I don't even want to impugn poor old schizophrenics with saying this with Namor. Honestly, you see this stuff. Part of me wonders if he ever had a wife or a kid.
Oh.
Did he even have a freaking undersea kingdom? Was like, oh, look at my undersea kingdom with all of my beloved subjects, and here's my wife, and here's my son, and
I mean, yeah, I mean, him just seeing everybody. I mean, how old is Namor at this point? Could it be dementia, or even just? I mean, how many blows to the head has Namor taken? At least since World War II.
My point is that he's just now seeing all the fantasies.
Yeah,
makes me ask: are we sure he was talking to them before? It's sort of like a Sixth Sense thing. Where it's like, wait, did anyone else talk to his wife or his kid? Are we sure he had a wife and kid? Did the Hulk talk to anyone except Namor?
And also, is it just like his life flashing before his eyes? Because on some levels, he just like, you know what? I don't care if I die as long as I take Banner with me. I don't care.
Well, I mean, it's all his crazy nonsense. I'm just talking about his immediate move to visual and auditory hallucinations.
Well, didn't John Byrne do that too, where it's like, Namor would go wacky if he stayed in the water too long. He would go wacky if he was out of the water too long.
Yeah, I mean, that's entirely possible too. it's entirely possible that this is either land or sea madness, one or the other. He just does not have the exact perfect level of land versus sea time.
That's the theme this month, kids. Madness.
Or balance. If you don't have balance, you go crazy. But Jim Hammond blows up all of Latveria, or whatever's left of Latveria. Gotta give Latveria props that they still had a freaking castle after the world's been decimated. And I don't even know if there's any Latverians except for Doom.
Doom's not staying at the Days Inn. Come on.
Yeah, fair enough. Then we get to it, and this is a thing. I don't know. We don't really know the time space, but it implies that now I'm Maestro, and I just took over, and next week, Professor Hulk shows up.
Well, Peter David loves his time loop, so it's so once Maestro takes over, that's when Rick Jones and those rebels here's Doctor Doom's time platform. We're gonna go back to the what you see in Future Imperfect. So,
and that's fine. I just would rather that he says, and this is actually 20 years later, because it kind of seems like he bred the Bettys.
Oh yeah.
And it's dude, you just found Betty's? That shouldn't worry you?
I'm trying to remember Future Imperfect. It's been a couple years since I read it. It's, maybe if they didn't explain this, maybe it should have been it took us a while to figure out how to use the time platform and, maybe find a power source. It's not we didn't just jump in it. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And actually my biggest question, since it's written by the same guy, it's did he always intend for the
do a prequel
Chancellor to be the fixer?
Oh, Toro, yeah.
Or was that something you just figured out later? It's make that guy one of the Thunderbolts. That's a brilliant idea. And it also makes perfect sense with everything he does and everything he works with. So it's was that always in the back of his mind, or is that something he has since determined?
Hey,
maybe we can get him back. He can call me
I'll try.
Idiot again.
Yeah.
Next is Joe Fixit.
Not till next year, though, but yes!
Yeah, but here's my thing with Joe Fixit. I love Joe Fixit. I would love a modern story with Joe Fixit. Where Joe Fixit just wakes up one day and is why am I here? I'm in control again.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Joe Fixit, and where are all the other Hulks? And then he's just okay, I don't know what's going on, but I'm Joe Fixit, so let me go back to Vegas. Let me see if I can reestablish myself. But also, let me try and figure out what happened to everyone else. Something's not right here. I like being me, certainly. Who doesn't like being you? But I'm also worried about what it means if I'm just me all the time.
Either that or do what Peter David did at one point and just be he works a deal with Banner. He's hey, you and me can work a timeshare. If you need a Hulk, if you need a Hulk, you let me out. Don't let the green guy out because he's gonna F everything up. So yeah, just let's work together to keep all the green Hulks and whatever Devil Hulks away. And
and that's fine too. And that's a good story. But I guess my statement is that we have seen that story. It's a great story. I would happily read it again. Mm-hmm. And it would be new for the kids who've never read the other stories. But at the same time, it's nice when you find a new way to twist it.
No, you know how he gets back to Vegas? What if Joe Fixit gets amnesia?
Oh, well, it's possible. I think they've given the Hulk amnesia a few times.
Banner gets shot in the head. He turns into Fixit. Fixit has amnesia.
Or just that all he remembers is that he's Joe Fixit.
Yes.
And then suddenly he starts seeing all these things. It's
why do I black out during the day?
What's going on, man? What? I'm just trying to do my job at the casino. Although his boss, I think, is sadly dead.
Oh, yeah, Burgetti. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Peter David killed him off in his run. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's where's Burgetti? Burgetti's dead, man. What? I'm taking over his turf.
I think he had a wife or girlfriend, unless she takes over or something.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. I can't wait for the Joe Fixit series.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Jane Fixit.
She-Hulk, yes.
She-Hulk. Man, okay. I gotta say this. and I don't know. I hope to F the big guy isn't Dan Germain.
Who?
This was Dan Germain. He was a character from the early run of, forgetting the name, but the She-Hulk run when she first works with Mallory Buck. Dan Germain was a guy who fell into a vat of chemicals at a Roxxon plant. He was actually the safety inspector, and his name was Dan Germain, so everyone called him Danger Man, because his job was to see where the dangers were in the Roxxon plant to prevent them. And of course, as he's inspecting the crosswalk, and he's saying, this crosswalk is not safe, he then falls into the vat of the super chemicals and comes back with amazing superpowers.
Well, unless he's living under an alias, the wife calls him Mark, so.
Yeah, that's true too. So my hope is it's not Dan Germain. But still, the idea that Mark has superpowers that he somehow developed and is somehow... Because I don't think she married him while he was a mentally challenged person. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm also worried about Jack of Hearts in this. He seems very obsessed with getting back to his ghost magic.
Yes.
And I kind of feel like there's so much going on behind the scenes that Jen is not seeing in this. And the end episode when Jen, in her Jen form, is talking to some lady at the park, and she's saying, "Don't worry about him. April, she keeps him under control," and makes the point that it's his wife. And man, I'm glad, since you point out that his name is Mark, that he's probably not Dan Germain.
Yeah.
But because Dan Germain was cool in his own way, but at the same time, I get the whole larger point that, you know what, it's not as cool as you think it is. Anyway, Philip, is there any Avengers books you want to put out?
Yeah, Iron Man 21.
Iron Man, oh, that's right. I did not get this book because where is Patsy Walker, Phil?
I don't know, maybe she's in her ghost mansion. Who?
I guess she is.
But, I mean, it's kind of interesting because it's like...
Tell me what's good about it, Phil.
Well, Tony Stark's on a commercial flight because he says something like, after rehab, I guess it feels better to be around people and stuff.
Fair enough.
And this... don't ask me why, but I'm guessing this guy's trying to hijack the plane. He escapes. Tony goes after him. Tony gets shot in the leg by some adamantium projectiles.
What do you say?
And this guy, I guess this guy is like another Weapon X guy. Although I think it's like a new guy. But Tony finally defeats him in the desert. But then at the end, I guess this guy's like brought to the attention of Tony. There's some like organization or something that's like selling black market weapons and stuff. And Tony's saying, even if it takes every cent I own, maybe I should just buy all this stuff up and dismantle. Buy everything up and just dismantle it instead of just going in guns a-blazing.
Yeah, but then they would make more.
Yeah.
In fact, literally, you've created a market for the product. So.
Yeah. Well, remember, like in a previous issue, his former head of security, Vic Martinelli, kept calling him, and I got something. Well, he's talking to Rhodey, and Rhodey's like, "Oh yeah, Vic was on this whole thing," and Tony's like, "Oh good, it's the three of us can do this," and Rhodey's like, "No, Vic's dead."
Oh.
So I'm assuming this organization killed him, maybe.
Probably.
So.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so. And, he must be going in because, next issue they're teasing the stealth armor again.
Well, there you go. You have to be stealthful. All right, Philip, I don't know how much song we're going to do, but I do want to give a shout-out. It's not Avengers, but I do want to give a shout-out for Defenders Beyond.
Ooh.
Because I got my baby Beyonder on the cover. It's on the last page. And at that point, I don't care. Be nice to my baby Beyonder. But this is an Avengers podcast. So, Philip, if people want to reach out to you and talk to you about Avengers, how can they do so?
You can always reach out to any of us. Email CapesandLunatics@gmail.com or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And, Capes and Lunatics and Avengers Declassified on Facebook, on Twitter. You want me to do the whole thing?
No, I mean, I was... Because I didn't do my aluminum mugs.
Oh, go ahead.
So, friends, if you would like to go down to our show notes and click on Linktree, that's linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics. Go to that site. You will find out all about our amazing merch, like amazingly comfortable t-shirts, even in fat guy sizes. The Capes and Lunatics aluminium mugs that keep your drinks cold all night long. And, also a Patreon. Why don't you give some money to the Patreon and get some exclusive content, including superhero movie brackets. This week, Green Lantern versus Black Cat.
Catwoman.
Honestly, I don't know which of these would be the bad movie. They both sound amazing. So we'll find out about that on Patreon. And in the meantime, if you'd like to write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And follow me on Twitter when I live tweet things at CHARLIESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you. All right, dear friends. You have come to the end of Avengers Declassified. Come again next week to learn more secrets man was not meant to know. This podcast will self-destruct in 10 seconds. Good night.
Oh my god, I think we start Secret Wars next week.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes. Yeah, all the for the month of August, kids. Secret Wars, three issues a week. So yeah, next week will be issues 1 through 3.
More Beyonder.
Yeah.
Told you he was important.
And She-Hulk and Absorbing Man. Yeah.
All the team. Oh, good old Absorbing Man. I hope they bring that actor back.
I am Connor from the House of L.
And I am Ray from the House of Zod.
We are two of the many survivors of Krypton's destruction, and we have made our home in Australia, and dare I say, have become Australians, for better or worse. But we have also decided to read Superman comics, read Superman books, watch Superman shows, cartoons, movies, basically everything Superman, and from an Australian perspective as well. Whether you're a seasoned fan, like me,
Or whether you are coming in fresh, wide-eyed and wanting to learn more like me, then this podcast is for you. Join us for our bi-weekly adventures available on all good podcast catchers.
but just search for Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. We'll be coming to you from Australia or some cosmic dimension, wherever we are that week. Up,
and away.